Welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're diving into the world of Portuguese wines,
Oh,
and
nice.
specifically a grape that I know has piqued your interest, Alicante Bouschet.
It has.
You sent over this collection of really fascinating Portuguese texts on this very grape, and I have to say I'm excited to unpack this mystery.
Me too. Our listener clearly has a taste for the unique and intriguing, and based on these sources, Alicante Bouschet definitely fits the bill.
Absolutely. So let's start with the basics. What is it about this grape that makes it stand out in the vast world of wine?
One of the first things you'll notice about Alicante Bouschet is its incredible color.
Yeah, it's really something.
It's what's known as a teinturier grape,
Okay.
meaning both its flesh and its skin are red.
Wow.
Unlike most red grapes, where the color mainly comes from the skin during fermentation, Alicante Bouschet is just red all the way through.
Okay, so that explains why those wines are so incredibly deep and almost inky looking.
Exactly.
It's like the grape itself is just this concentrated dose of color.
Yeah, and you know what? One of your Portuguese sources even called it a uva tintureira que pinta o mundo do vinho,
Which means,
the grape that paints the world of wine.
oh, I love that.
It's very fitting.
It is very fitting. And speaking of fitting this intensity of color that we're talking about, it really hints at the bold personality of this grape.
It does.
But as we know, there's more to wine than just how it looks.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
So let's talk flavor.
Okay.
Your sources get really specific. They're mentioning blackberries, cherries, plums, even notes of black pepper and clove. It's not just your typical red fruit profile, is it?
Not at all. Alicante Bouschet brings this whole tapestry of flavors.
Okay.
We'll find those ripe, dark fruits that you mentioned, but also this really cool interplay between spice and earthiness.
Interesting.
Some might even say there's a rustic charm to it.
A grape with a little bit of an edge.
I like it.
Now, these Portuguese texts you sent over seem very interested in the history of this grape.
As they should be.
Is there like a captivating origin story behind this colorful character we're talking about?
There is.
Mhm.
And it takes us from Portugal to its birthplace in France.
Okay.
Alicante Bouschet was actually created by a botanist by the name of Henri Bouschet sometime between 1865 and 1885.
Wow.
He crossed Grenache
Which we all know.
with another teinturier grape called Petit Bouschet.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
So it was a deliberate creation.
Yeah.
Like a hybrid that was designed with a very specific purpose in mind.
Exactly. Boucher was trying to make a grape that could give him these deeply colored wines, ideal for blending and really boosting the intensity of other varieties.
So it worked.
And it really took off for a while.
But like a lot of trends in the wine world, I imagine Alicante Bouschet eventually fell out of favor.
You're right. As people's tastes changed, Alicante Bouschet was kind of pushed into this role of a workhorse grape,
Interesting.
more valued for its color than its own unique character.
Oh, wow.
But here's where it gets interesting.
Mhm.
Your Portuguese sources reveal that Alicante Bouschet, which was once just used for blending, is now celebrated as a single varietal star in regions like Alentejo.
A comeback story. I love when an underdog gets its time to shine.
Pick a good one.
What sparked this renewed appreciation for it?
Well, winemakers and wine lovers alike are rediscovering that this grape has way more to offer than just intense color.
Yeah.
It's super versatile, and it can make a whole bunch of styles from big, bold reds to more nuanced and elegant expressions.
Speaking of nuanced and elegant, let's get into the specifics of what makes Alicante Bouschet thrive.
Okay.
Your sources go into great detail about its ideal growing conditions and how they impact the final product.
Right, and it really just highlights how connected this grape is to the terroir, the unique combination of soil, climate, and tradition.
Right.
Alicante Bouschet loves those warm, dry climates with tons of sunshine and well-drained soils.
Makes sense.
Regions like Alentejo with its sunny vineyards, they just offer the perfect conditions for this heat-loving grape.
It's a match made in viticultural heaven.
It really is.
But it's not just about the warmth and sunshine, right?
Right.
Your sources mention the importance of temperature swings between day and night,
Yeah, they do.
which is fascinating to me.
They're really important for building complexity in these wines.
Okay.
These diurnal temperature swings, as they're called. They let the grapes ripen nice and slow and evenly developing this balance of sugar and acidity
Okay.
that turns into those amazing nuanced flavors.
So it's about finding that perfect harmony between the elements.
Exactly.
Speaking of harmony, let's talk about the human element, the ways they cultivate this grape to take it from vine to bottle.
Okay.
Your sources paint a vivid picture of both traditional and modern approaches to cultivating Alicante Bouschet, and each approach contributes to the final character of the wine.
Yeah, you do.
It's like a dance between heritage and innovation.
It is.
On one hand, you have these ancient methods, bush vines, soaking up the Portuguese sun grapes carefully picked by hand. Then you have the more modern techniques, trellises, for better control over the canopy and controlled irrigation to make sure the vines get just the right amount of water.
Yeah, it's really cool to see that blend of respecting tradition and embracing these advancements in viticulture.
It is. And
Yeah.
this delicate dance between tradition and innovation extends to the winemaking process itself, don't you think?
Absolutely. Vinification,
Mm.
the art of turning those grapes into wine, that's where Alicante Bouchet's true potential comes out.
Right.
And your sources have some super interesting insights into how winemakers approach this really important stage.
It sounds like winemakers really have their work cut out for them trying to tame this bold and colorful grape
You could say that.
and coaxing out all of its best qualities. What are some of the techniques they use to achieve this balance?
Well, your sources point to a few things.
That's-
Things like maceration,
Mm-hmm.
fermentation, temperature control, and oak aging,
Okay.
all done very carefully to bring out harmony in the final product.
Let's start with maceration because one of your Portuguese sources uses the phrase extracting the soul of the grape.
I love that.
I do too. It's such a beautiful way to describe it.
It is. Maceration is basically that time after the grapes are crushed,
Okay.
when the juice is hanging out with the skins, seeds, sometimes even the stems.
Interesting.
And this extended contact is really key in traditional Alentejo winemaking.
Got it.
It's what gives Alicante Bouschet its intense color and those robust tannins.
So it's all about drawing out those essential characteristics,
Yeah,
those
yeah.
things that make this grape so unique.
Exactly. And just like steeping tea,
Okay.
the longer you let that maceration happen, the more flavor and tannins you're going to get,
Interesting.
which obviously affects the wine's final taste.
Right. So winemakers are making these decisions based on the style of wine they're going for.
They are.
It's like this balancing act, right?
Yes.
Trying to get enough complexity without going overboard.
Exactly.
And then once maceration is done,
Yeah.
then we move on to fermentation, which is where the sugar turns into alcohol.
The magic happens.
It is kind of magical. Fermentation is another area where winemakers have to be really careful with Alicante Bouchet's boldness.
It's true.
They have to get those temperatures just right
Yeah.
so that the fermentation allows the grape's fruitiness to come through
Right.
without it being overpowered by harsh tannins.
It's all about balance.
It is all about balance. And then your sources mention oak aging is often used for this grape.
Yeah.
What does the oak add to all of this?
It's like adding another layer of complexity and nuance.
Okay.
French oak is a popular choice because of its subtle spice and elegant structure.
Yeah, I can see that.
But some winemakers are experimenting with African oak too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What does that do?
It gives it bolder vanilla and coconut notes.
So it's like choosing the right spices to go with a dish.
It really is.
Each oak type adds its own unique thing.
Yeah. And speaking of tradition and history,
Yes.
we can't forget about Vinho da Tala.
It does sound like a blast from the past.
It means wine of the tala.
Okay.
And these talas are these massive clay pots
Wow.
that have been used for centuries in Alentejo to make wine.
Clay pots buried in the earth holding wine for generations. It's pretty amazing.
It's a testament to how Portuguese winemaking traditions have really stood the test of time.
Yeah, and this ancient technique almost disappeared.
I know, it's crazy, right?
It is crazy, but it's making a comeback.
It is.
Not just in Alentejo, but in other parts of the world.
Yeah, it's becoming trendy.
It's like this rediscovery of something ancient. Like sometimes the old ways are the best ways.
Totally.
What is it about these clay pots that make them so special for Alicante Bouschet?
So the clay is porous,
Okay.
and that allows for slow, gentle microoxygenation during fermentation and aging,
Interesting.
which really helps soften those big tannins
Okay.
and create a more well-rounded and complex flavor.
So it's like the clay breathes life into the wine,
I like that.
giving it a unique character that you wouldn't get from stainless steel or even oak.
Exactly. And the results speak for themselves.
Okay.
Vinho de Tala wines are known for their earthy, rustic charm.
So rustic but refined?
Yes.
What kind of flavors are we talking about here?
Imagine those dark berries and plums we talked about.
Okay.
But with this added layer of earthy complexity, like leather, tobacco, dried herbs, maybe even a touch of smoke.
It's like tasting the Alentejo terroir, like a
Yeah.
fusion of that sun-drenched fruit and the ancient earth.
It's pretty special.
It is special, and this tradition has been passed down for generations.
I know.
It's amazing.
It's a reminder that some traditions are just too good to lose.
It really is incredible when you find a wine that tastes like history.
It's true. You're tasting the legacy of generations past with each sip.
This deep dive into these Portuguese sources has been so eye-opening.
It has.
We've uncovered so much about Alicante Bouschet.
It's quite the grape.
Its boldness, its versatility, that connection to the terroir. But before we wrap up,
Yeah.
there's one more surprise. Your sources mention Alicante Bouschet showing up in a totally unexpected place,
Yeah.
the world of sparkling wine.
Oh, that's right. It does seem kind of surprising, right?
It does.
Given its reputation for big reds.
Right.
But it turns out Alicante Bouschet can hold its own in the world of bottles.
Interesting. So tell me more about this. What's drawing winemakers to use it for sparkling wines?
Well, it seems like they're really into its structure and vibrant fruit character as an addition to sparkling wines.
So are we talking like a traditional method sparkling wine, like champagne or something different?
It seems like they're exploring both avenues.
Yeah.
Some are using Alicante Bouschet in the traditional method, bringing that color and flavor to those elegant bubbles.
Right.
But then others are trying it with Pet Nat,
Okay.
which is known for being more rustic and naturally sparkling.
So Alicante Bouchet's wild side can really come out.
Exactly.
So we could have both sophisticated and playful wines, all thanks to this one grape.
I know. It's pretty cool. It really shows how Alicante Bouschet breaks the mold.
It defies categorization.
It does. And it speaks to this movement in the wine world right now,
Yes, so.
People are willing to experiment, to think outside the box and explore the potential of these lesser-known grapes.
That's so cool.
It is.
This has been such a journey.
I know. I've learned so much.
Me too.
Yeah.
From those sun-drenched vineyards of Alentejo
Beautiful.
to the ancient clay pots of Vinho da Tala.
Thousands of years old.
I know. And now to sparkling Alicante Bouschet, who knew?
Right.
So to our listener who sent in those fascinating Portuguese texts, thank you.
Yes. Thank you.
You've led us on quite the adventure.
It's been fun.
We hope this deep dive has given you a new appreciation for Alicante Bouschet.
It really is a special grape.
It embodies the spirit of Portugal, though. Bold, vibrant, and full of surprises.
The next time you're picking out a bottle of wine,
Yes.
think about trying an Alicante Bouschet.
Why not?
Whether it's a powerful red, rustic Vinho d'Italia or even a sparkling one, there's a whole world of flavor out there waiting to be discovered.
Cheers to that. And to our listeners, thank you for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.
We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic to explore. Until then, happy drinking.